The rain was coming down hard that morning, the kind of rain that soaked through clothes and spirits alike, blurring the city into streaks of gray and silver. As the clock on the dashboard blinked 8:12 a.m., his heart pounded harder than the wipers beating against the windshield, because he was already running late for the most important interview of his life. For a man who had nothing left to lose except hope, this single morning carried the weight of survival, dignity, and his child's future. Before the story goes any further, pause for a moment. If you believe that kindness still matters in this world, if you believe in second chances and quiet heroes, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that touch the heart. He was a single father, worn thin by years of struggle, the kind of man whose kindness had survived despite life giving him every reason to grow bitter. His old car rattled as it moved through traffic, its cracked dashboard holding a photo of his young daughter, taped there carefully like a promise. She was the reason for everything. Every early morning, every missed meal, every night spent worrying about bills that never stopped coming. Today's interview was for a stable job, a chance to finally step out of the shadows of temporary work and constant fear. He had pressed his only decent shirt the night before, polished his shoes until they almost looked new, and whispered a quiet prayer while his daughter slept, hoping this would be the day things finally changed. As he approached an intersection near the industrial side of the city, he noticed a car pulled off to the shoulder, hazard lights blinking weakly through the rain. A woman stood beside it, soaked, clearly distressed, trying to flag someone down as vehicles sped past without slowing. He glanced at the clock again, feeling panic rise in his chest. If he stopped, he would miss the interview. If he didn't, he would carry that choice with him forever. His hands tightened around the steering wheel as his mind raced, calculating minutes and consequences like a man standing at the edge of a cliff. Life had taught him what it felt like to be invisible. After his wife passed away unexpectedly, the world seemed to move on without noticing the man left behind with a grieving child and an empty house. Employers saw gaps in his resume, landlords saw risk, and strangers rarely saw him at all. Yet he remembered the times when help had arrived unexpectedly, when small kindnesses had kept him going during his darkest nights. As he passed the woman's car, his foot hovered over the accelerator, his heart screaming one thing while his conscience whispered another. He pulled over. Rain soaked him instantly as he stepped out, his shoes splashing in shallow puddles. The woman looked relieved, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion as she explained, through tears and shaking hands, that her car had completely died and her phone battery was nearly gone. She was late for something important too, though she didn't say what. He listened carefully, offering calm reassurance, even as his own anxiety burned inside him. He checked the car, quickly realizing it wasn't a simple fix. Still, he stayed, calling for roadside assistance from his own phone, holding an umbrella over her while rain ran down his sleeves and soaked his shirt. Minutes stretched into half an hour, then longer. Each passing second felt like another door quietly closing behind him. He imagined the interview room, the empty chair, the polite notes being written about his absence. He imagined going home to his daughter and trying to explain why nothing had changed again. Yet as he stood there, shielding a stranger from the storm, he felt something deeper than fear. He felt like himself. Not a failure, not a number, just a man doing what felt right. The woman noticed his trembling hands, the way he kept glancing at his watch, the careful politeness that masked his worry. She asked about him, and without bitterness, he told her the truth. He spoke of his daughter, of the interview, of how much this day mattered. He didn't complain or ask for sympathy. He simply explained, as if sharing a fact about the weather. Something shifted in her expression then, though he didn't notice it fully, too busy apologizing for the delay and insisting it was fine, that some things were more important than schedules. When the tow truck finally arrived, it was already too late. His interview time had come and gone. The woman thanked him repeatedly, her gratitude sincere but clearly mixed with something else he couldn't quite read. As he drove away, rain still falling, the city felt heavier than before. The hope he had carried all morning now felt fragile, like glass cracked but not yet shattered. He pulled over a few blocks away, resting his forehead against the steering wheel, allowing himself a few quiet moments to feel the loss he had been holding back. He didn't tell his daughter what happened when he picked her up from school later that day. He smiled, asked about her classes, helped with homework, and cooked dinner like always. That night, after she fell asleep, he sat alone in the dim kitchen, staring at unpaid bills spread across the table. He wondered how many more times kindness would cost him something he couldn't afford to lose, and whether doing the right thing was a luxury meant only for those who already had enough. The next morning, his phone rang while he was getting ready for another day of temporary work. An unfamiliar number lit up the screen. He almost didn't answer, assuming it was another reminder or rejection. When he finally picked up, he listened in stunned silence, his breath catching as the voice on the other end explained that the interview hadn't been cancelled after all. In fact, it had been rescheduled. Not only that, but he was being offered the position outright, effective immediately, with benefits and flexible hours. Confusion washed over him as details followed, details that didn't make sense until one sentence landed like thunder. The woman with the broken car was the company's senior executive, someone who rarely revealed her identity, someone who believed in seeing people as they truly were before deciding who deserved opportunity. She had watched him choose compassion over personal gain without knowing who she was, and that choice had told her everything she needed to know. He sat down slowly, his hands shaking, tears filling his eyes as months of stress and self-doubt poured out in silent relief. For the first time since his wife's passing, he felt the ground beneath him steady. He felt seen, not because of his resume or his explanations, but because of his character. He thanked the voice on the phone over and over, barely able to speak, while his heart raced with a mix of disbelief and gratitude. The change didn't happen overnight, but it was real. The new job brought stability, but more importantly, it brought dignity. He could walk into a workplace without fear, come home without dread, and plan for a future that didn't feel like a constant emergency. His daughter noticed the difference before he said a word. She noticed the lighter steps, the easier laughter, the way he no longer stared at bills like enemies. One evening, as he tucked her into bed, she smiled at him with the simple certainty of a child who feels safe, and that moment alone made every sacrifice worth it. He never sought out the woman again, never tried to thank her in person, or tell the story for recognition. He understood that what mattered wasn't the reward, but the reminder that kindness has a way of echoing beyond the moment. Sometimes it returns in unexpected ways, through doors you didn't even know existed. Other times, it simply shapes who you become, quietly, patiently, like rain carving stone. As his life slowly rebuilt itself, he carried the memory of that rainy morning with him. Not as a tale of luck, but as proof that doing the right thing is never truly wasted. Even when it costs you time, opportunity, or comfort, it plants something deeper, something that can grow long after the storm has passed. If this story moved you even a little, if it reminded you of a moment when kindness changed something inside you, please take a second now to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep these stories alive and reaching hearts that need them.